Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene. Usually I introduce my cohorts tonight, but Johnny Popko is at the Rock 107 Bash, and Brittany is MIA. She said she was going to get back to me, and she didn't, so this is my way of scolding her. But we are here tonight with Idle Hands, who is a brand new sleaze rock band from Scranton. So I don't know if you want to introduce yourselves, your names and everything.
Sure. James Simon, bass guitar.
John Runco, lead guitar, lead vocals, rhythm guitar.
Chris Notchik, lead guitars.
So we're missing our drummer then.
We are.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, he recently just got a new job, and he's been training in Atlanta, Georgia for the past few weeks, and he has a few more weeks to go. So he's had a pretty hectic schedule, and he couldn't make it. But
that's cool. But we still have plenty to talk about. I'm sure you guys have plenty to discuss. Sure. So we're obviously going to talk about the band and their formation and their music, as well as their participation in the new Scene compilation and its release show at the Bog in Scranton this Friday, April 6th, which all the details are on our website. But we want you to join our conversation right now. So if you have any questions or comments for the band, for me, for anything that we're talking about, if you want to chime in, we're going to get to those comments and those questions later in the show. So please leave them down below. We will read them all. So it's so much better when you participate. So please feel free to jump in. We're also live streaming on Twitter, on Periscope as well. So if you are more of a fan of Twitter than Facebook, I think everybody is more of a fan of anything other than Facebook these days, so myself included. But if you want to check it out on there, you can as well. And then, of course, the playback later on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, all that good stuff. So before we get to the interview tonight, we have some beers to crack open from Beer Boys in Wilkes-Barre. They have 72 beers on tap, and every week they generously give us these huge crowlers to share. Even though the boys already brought their own beer to start things up, so I'm glad you guys are participating in the beer drinking tonight.
I have to be prepared.
Yeah.
So tonight we have Miss Pillion River, Miss Betty, Trogues Sunshine Pills that we've had on the show before, and Wicked Weed, Napoleon Complex Hoppy Ale. I just like the name in general. That's pretty cool. So which one do you guys want to start with tonight?
Maybe the Trogues.
Yeah, let's go with the Trogues.
Let's go with the Trogues. All right. Trogues is a good go-to. They're brewed in Hershey, so not too far from here.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to pour these
Take
things
that
in.
one.
Get a little bit.
Christopher?
Oh, thank you.
There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Na zdrowie.
That's good.
Isn't it?
Yeah, this one's real good.
Yeah, you guys like it?
Yeah.
That's a good,
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
good standard beer with a little more flavor than your average light beer.
Yeah.
So we also want to give. We want to mention that Beer Boys has started doing live music again. So they have bands just like Always Undecided, who have been featured on our live stream. You probably saw them headline last night's NEPA Scene Rising Talent open mic. It was a good night, and so we've become friends with those guys. So definitely check them out there. Plenty of other bands. I believe Jordan Ramirez is playing there this weekend as well. So another talented guy we've had on the show before. The V-Spot is also one of our sponsors. With one of the most popular bars in northeastern Pennsylvania, they have live entertainment every night of the week. This week they have Always Undecided tonight. Village Idiots Duo on Thursday. New Era with if you're a fan of the new metal era and all the stuff that came out of that, I am an unabashed fan. I know it's easy to harp on that stuff, but sorry, that's how I got into metal. It was that time in my life, and I was the right age. So if you want to relive all the new metal hits, some of them good, some of them probably not aging too well, but still probably fun to hear. Those are on Friday, which really good mix of musicians. Look into those guys. A little bit of Grace's Downfall, Behind the Gray, a whole bunch of guys getting together for some fun covers. Flaxy Morgan on Saturday, and DJ Huff is hosting karaoke on Sunday. And of course, the NEPA Scene Rising Talent Open Mic and Talent Contest is back on. We had our second week this week. It was fantastic. Went over really well. Had a huge turnout again. We only have 10 more weeks, though, and it goes by real fast. So come hang out with us on Tuesdays. Sign-ups are 6:30 to 7:30, and then from then on, we pretty much go all night. So it's a really good time. Probably the craziest open mic and most diverse open mic you'll be to in the area. So
yeah, for sure.
lots of good stuff going on there. And the last sponsor I want to mention tonight is the second annual Jim Thorpe Independent Film Festival, which we're actually going to talk about in depth next week. This event features more than 90 cutting-edge films from around the world: dramas, documentaries, horror, sci-fi, LGBTQ, experimental, and grindhouse movies. Festival runs Thursday, April 12th through Sunday, April 15th at the Mount Chunk Opera House in Jim Thorpe. So you can read more about that on our website. There's also a big red carpet event that kind of opens the night on Thursday, April 12th, where they're showing the new Ethan Hawke film Blaze. And I don't know if you guys or anybody are familiar with Blaze Foley. He was an outlaw country guy back before that was actually a term. Inspired guys like Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson. I didn't know much about him because I'm not much of a country guy, but it sounded interesting, and I kind of looked more into it. And the guy's got a real fascinating story, extremely underrated. A lot of the famous country guys that you would know took inspiration from him. He did it way before they did, so super interesting story. Ethan Hawke co-wrote and directed the movie. And the star, Ben Dickey, who plays him, is actually going to be at the Opera House that night to play a set of his music and some of his own stuff, which is pretty cool. So it's a huge kind of package deal that all ties together, and it's super cheap to get in. So you should definitely check it out. More information, JimThorpeIndieFilmFest.com, and there's some articles about it on our site as well. So. All right, so now that we've got all the obligatory plugs all out of the way, I want to start with, before we get into the current band, what are your backgrounds as musicians? Have you guys been in other bands before this?
Yeah, I was in bands for a while, and then after I had got my career started, it completely took a back burner to the degree that I didn't play at all for years, and I didn't really ever think that I would again, to tell you the truth, but after getting the shop going and getting everything stabilized, I ended up wanting to get back at it again, and that's what actually ended up spawning the beginning of what was The Hill You Die On, you know. Me and Keith, the rhythm guitar player at the time, just kind of started jamming together, and picked up a member here and a member there, and that's how that all started. And then I was probably playing a few months before that. I started really getting into music theory, which I never really did prior, you know, when I played in bands before. Never really dove into it, but I did at that point, and I've been taking lessons probably for about 2 years now, and you know, it's pretty much consumed me. So I have a couple bands going at this point, and you know, it's going. We're blessed that things have been going really well. You just happens to be like organically, like, you know, happening where I'm playing with other people that are like-minded, and we're creating together, and it's just, you know, something that I want to keep going for right now, you know, so.
What about you, John?
Excellent. Gotta get that crowl there first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
I started playing actually back when I was in high school in a Beatles tribute band. That's what really started me out. I actually wasn't even playing guitar at that time. I was just lead singing.
Yeah.
But I mean, things fall to the wayside when it comes to that when you're a little bit younger. I played in a couple of cover bands, one for a few years, just doing mostly the small bars around here, but never my own music. But I have a couple of friends who are in the local music scene that really pushed me to get into this, and Jim really just one night asked me if I wanted to try out for this band. I jumped in, we had a nice connection, and that was about it. So I've been playing music in different aspects, I guess, for a while now, but not to this level, not to where we're writing our own stuff and, you know, pushing this unit as we are right now.
In the studio a lot,
right?
And just like really taking it seriously, you know.
Yeah. For me, I don't. Most people don't know, but I actually started playing guitar when I was like 6, and then I actually got out of it, and then I think like I saw like I bought Pearl Jam's 10 at the time. I was like 12, I think, and then I saw Kurt Cobain on MTV, and that was pretty much it for me. So I played from like maybe 13 through like early 20s, and then I stopped. You know, life happened, and like I really hadn't played at all. You know, I put everything away, and I'd say like last year maybe, I was with someone for a long time, and when we finally broke up after like 4 years, I was cleaning up a room, and I saw my Marshall in the corner. I was like, this little combo amp I had, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna buy a guitar again, and it kind of just went from there, and here I am today, you know. So like Jim said, I started taking some lessons again and learning music from Neil Nicastro. He's another local musician. He's an excellent person, an excellent teacher, and he's someone I think is really great, and showing me theory and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, it's like getting on a bicycle, you know, like you haven't ridden in a long time, just going from there. And that's pretty much what happened, you know. So I've only been playing again for about 6 months, but it's coming back. So nice. I'm honored to be like in this band with these guys because I'm like the baby, so to speak.
So how did you guys end up getting together and starting the band?
Jeez.
I had.
It's a.
I had. Well, that's when you know it's going to be.
I'll make it a short one.
Yeah.
I had a whole bunch of riffs and songs that I couldn't use in the current band that I was in because it was just a completely different genre altogether, you know. But I like a lot of different stuff, you know. I grew up on metal, like, you know, mostly thrash and stuff. But you know, I like rock and roll, you know, and I like you know, alternative like 90s rock, and I like all kinds of stuff, you know. So there was like a lot of times like where that stuff was just kind of coming out. So I had a decent like collection of all these songs, and I had been friends with Chris for a little bit, and when he told me that he just started playing again, I'm like, well, let's get together and jam, you know, because like it's just gonna be some chill thing just to see what would happen, you know. And it ended up being fun, and we were like finally found. I knew Rob for years as our drummer, who's not here, Rob Stitzer, and he had played in bands and punk and hardcore bands years ago, and he's another one, same scenario. Life happened and getting into the mid to late 30s and stuff, and now he said that he was talking about buying another drum kit and getting back in, playing again. And I was like, I never had played with him before, and we asked him to come up, and he just showed up the one day, and he had spent like thousands of dollars at the music store. All like brand new cymbals and shit, and like when you're kids, you don't have money to buy shit like that, So he just went all out and bought this crazy drum kit and all new cymbals and everything, and just came in and set up, and then that was it. We just started playing, and he sounded great. He was a really good fit, and we all get along really well and everything. And then we're trying out singers and thinking about what we were going to do, because it's getting kind of serious at this point. We have like a handful of songs together, and we're talking about playing out and things like that. And I had been friends with John for years as well, through the shop, and I saw him one night. We were at a Permanence show, because we had friends in common, and we went to see Permanence. And I actually think you were there that night. It was at the Keys, I believe. But and he was there, and I was telling him about it, and I knew that he was real busy with his career and stuff. I didn't ever figured that he would be interested, but I told him about it, and he was like, yeah, I'd love to come over and try out. So he came over and tried out, and we were dicking around with, I think we wanted to learn a cover, because we thought it would be easier to just kind of gel that way.
Yeah, it was Queens of the Stone Age.
A feel-good hit of the summer.
Hit of the summer.
That's why I came over. I had that learned. Very super, not that it's a super easy song, but it's not very, one that's complex.
It's 7 words.
Right. Yeah. The entire song is maybe 7 words. But even when we sat down, it just wasn't it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't really grooving. I mean, we couldn't really get into the rhythm with it, and not that it was anything.
It wasn't really your style.
Right.
You're right. Yeah.
So I remember just being like, all right, well, what do you guys have that's already written down? What do you guys have that's
original stuff, which we didn't even think of, because what is he going to sing to it? Gibberish, you know what I mean? So we started playing some of the originals, and he just winged it and just made up words or whatever, and it felt pretty good, and and then that was it, and then it was on. We just started really
forming the
pursuing it, making sure we got together every week, or a couple times a week, some of us, and writing, and then we got to a point where we wanted to get legitimate recordings of these songs, because we didn't have a setup to really get a good one other than on your phone, So, Clyde Rosenkrantz owns Republic Audio.
Clyde's amazing.
Clyde, I can't say enough good things about Clyde.
He's been a friend of mine for a while. He's a customer, and I knew that he had a studio and stuff, so I had been wanting to work with him. So we brought it up there, and it ended up being a perfect fit. He's another member of the band. He's got just a really good ear for that, exactly what we want to do, and it was a really good environment. It worked out really good. So we've just been picking away a song at a time, and we're gonna have an EP, probably a 6-song EP that'll be coming out in the summer.
Yeah.
We'll have a couple of the ones that we already did, maybe reworked and stuff. We have a bunch of new material too, so probably about 6 songs. And this most recent single we did, we rushed to get it done for because Keith asked us to be on the compilation disc, so we were able to Clyde was able to stuff us in on a Sunday, and
squeeze us in.
We went in there and just got it done in a couple hours, really. Right. And
they went up actually went up without me, and they laid down all the rhythm tracks, drums, everything. I actually had to go up on a Tuesday night at 9:00 just to get some of my auxiliary drum parts or guitar parts in, and then lay down my vocal tracks completely by myself up there, because it was just Clyde really spent the time to put us into a spot where we could actually get this single out on for this compilation album. I mean, it's really, really showing credit to him, and he mastered it in.
He made it priority.
I mean, he really
did
it.
A couple different days, and made it, made it priority to get it done, which was cool, So.
And that's Republic Audio, by the way.
Yeah,
that's his studio.
But that's the thing. Bringing us together was basically all. I mean, Jim is the linchpin, and then we all kind of just are just in different angles from all of parts of Jim's life, that it was just in different areas where he pulled like Chris from a little while ago. I mean, he's been friends with Bobby, pulled him in from the shop, and then I've only been friends with Jim since you started with
Pretty much, yeah. Nobody even really knew each other.
I don't.
Really,
yeah,
I knew Rob.
I knew everybody, but like
the first time
I
practiced that's the first time I met Rob, and that's the first time I met Chris. So
it's funny because like I knew Rob like from like 10 years ago easily, and like we used to hang out at the same bars down here, and like we knew the same type of like the same people, like we'd always be in the same crowds, and and we became friendly that way. And then like life happened, and I hadn't seen the guy in 10 years, and then like Jim told me, I was like, who's this drummer you got coming into my house? And like he said, this guy Rob, and he's like, I'm like, okay, cool, and like and he opened the door, I'm like Rob Stitzer? I haven't seen this guy in like so long. So
at least you met him before.
So
I was walking in blind.
Yeah, he definitely was.
Right.
But we knew like when he came in the door, like after like the first, pretty much the first session, that we knew that we wanted John to sing. So it was a no-brainer at that point. So
excellent.
And for this show, I mean, we only had one show so far.
Right.
Yeah,
we're very.
This is our second show. Yeah.
Right. That was at the Wolf for Camp Rattler thing they had. Yeah. And it was super fun. We had a good turnout and
had a good time.
We'll try that.
It was after that. It was after that Rob had gotten this new job and stuff. So after our first show, we already have this stuff booked, and like he had to take the job, and it got real hectic. So now we have actually he's not here tonight. He's not gonna be able to make the show, but Brian Craig is actually stepping up and playing Craig, drums for us.
He is going to play for this show, and then he's actually going to step in for our next show.
For the show at the other side.
At the other side, we have on the April 27th. We're actually at the other side, and Craigers is going to play that show for us too. Just because Rob's been out of commission, and actually he's been in Atlanta, Georgia for the last 3 weeks. Yeah. So he's been down there training for a new job. Yeah. So really, it's a blessing to have a person like that to be able to step in. Craigers is able to step in.
Learn the songs.
Brian learned every one of our songs in
2 times,
2 or 3 practices, and he's able to step in. So it's awesome to have that. So he's going to fill in for us for April, and then hopefully Rob is back into a normal schedule, not in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a problem, but we'll go from there.
Yeah, thankfully we had Craiger to help us out, because that was kind of hard to just jump in at the final hour and just learn all the songs. And
that's not bad.
We've been going over after work, because we were working together at the shop, and we'll go over after work and just grind it out until 1 a.m. for a couple nights this week.
And they're not out until 9:30, so it's practice starting at 10 o'clock.
He really helped us out big time.
He's a man.
Yeah. And then the next show that we have is April 27th.
Yep.
That's at the other side. That's with Gods of Space, The Stone Eye, and Endavera.
Yeah. Really excited for that one too. I mean, our both shows coming up with the Bog, and then the other side. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better second and third show to just jump in on. That's incredible for us. It's awesome.
And they have bands that are established like that to ask us. I'm humbled.
Yeah.
They're all great bands. So.
Yeah, thankfully we've had a pretty decent response to the singles so far, and couldn't be happier. Honestly, things are going good.
Well, since we're on that topic of talking about shows and bands and stuff like that, what is your view on the way the local music scene is going currently? Is the state of it right now, in your opinion?
I think it's really good.
Right.
Absolutely. There's a lot of really talented bands in a vast range too. I couldn't even begin to name them all, because I'm going to leave anybody out. But there's just so many good bands out there right now, and I've been out of the scene for so long, and then diving back in a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, we've ended up playing with so many different types of bands and stuff, and I'm just really impressed with all the creative, talented people we have around here right now. And some of the venues the V Spot really did a great job with their new place.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
Those guys are great.
And
it's a great place to play now.
They're all
that's the thing. Between the Bog, the Keys, they're also doing live, just all live
Jen
showcases.
just does so many live shows.
Jen kills it down there, really.
That's great. And then the Bog always has great shows, and the Wolf, like
Peter at the Wolf,
exactly.
Yeah.
Lots of shows there. So, I mean, I think it's really good. Like when you think about 10 years ago, would you be able to go out and how often would you be able to go see an original band on a weekend at a bar?
I mean, Keith Perks is putting together a 19-track.
Or 20-track, isn't
it? I think it's
19.
It's 19, okay. And it is one from individual local artists, and there's still bands left off.
Yeah, that's not even
right. I mean,
that was just
exactly. That's bands that didn't have. I mean, these are singles that were unreleased that are only going to be available on this compilation.
Most of them, some are like live or some.
But still, what I'm saying, I mean, that's 19 tracks from 19 quality musicians that are on.
There's you go. There's
exactly. That's enough right there from
to see what's out there.
Between
if people aren't familiar.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's enough. Saying it right there. I mean, he's able to put together a compilation album of just Scranton local artists that are right. So I think Scranton
there's everything from hip hop and rap and country and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. I mean, even Doom to us.
Right.
Really. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, that's how that starts. I mean, the album's going to start that way, and it's just a vast variety of stuff. It's awesome, really. Yeah. Scranton music scene is incredible, really.
Especially with that, the Electric City Music Conference is great, too.
Yeah, that's a great production right there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be, I know every year it's really...
I've lived in a bunch of places, and, it never, for Scranton to be, Scranton and have that every year is pretty cool.
Right. It's incredible.
People come from all over, too.
They do.
The one band we played with, where were they? From Florida? They came up from Florida to play. I mean, all over the place, really.
And the fact that you can have that many vast categories all in one place and have so many people nominated in each category, and then people who didn't get nominated that year or maybe will get nominated next year or whatever.
Who were still...
my God, that's so many bands.
Absolutely.
When you think about it.
Right.
And, most of those categories are all original music. There's a few covers and stuff, too, which there's no shame in that either.
No,
but the fact that you have that many bands putting out original material... I think is insane.
Yeah.
Right.
And listen, I was in a cover band for 2.5 years. That's work.
It's absolutely work.
That's not.
I see how hard
any crack against that. That is work.
And even the bands who do original stuff, a lot of times do covers too.
Right. We do one. We do. We actually do one in our set.
I think you have to. I think it's just, sometimes you got to grab those people who either aren't paying attention or people who are just coming in and they're like, what's this? And you try to introduce them.
It's always kind of cool to have one in the back burner somewhere.
We close with our cover though, and it's not a very well-known cover by any means, but
it's people want something that's relatable.
I mean,
a lot of people knew it.
Yeah, they did, but
there are some dudes coming up to us.
Our cover actually just kind of ties us all together. I mean, it's Motley Crue, Piece of Your Action. What's that? The 1981?
Yeah, it's off of Too Fast for Love.
Yeah, Too Fast for Love. I was not born yet.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we're talking about genres. How did you guys decide on? What is sleaze rock? Let's start with that.
Well, honestly, I mean,
you hit the nail on the head with this one.
When we were talking about it, it was kind of when we started out. It always ends up being something different than what you had shot for. I think you know what I mean. You're never gonna be and it would be silly even to say, oh, I want to sound like a Queens of the Stone Age band. That's a heavy influence of ours, along with a lot of 90s stuff like Nirvana and everything from, Stone Temple Pilots. John has a lot of older classic rock influence. And he's early in the Beatles and stuff like that. So we have a bunch of different things. Yeah. So you never really know. It's you just throw all these ingredients and it's you never know what the soup is going to be like in the end, But what it ended up sounding like, it had this really dirty, it's catchy, but it's a dirty, sleazy kind of sound. So I just jokingly said it one day, not even really knowing that it was a term prior.
Right.
But what it referred to a lot of times was in the 80s, more of glam metal bands, things like that. You know what I mean? Right. It's the which actually fit perfect because it's kind of the same thing, but in a in a different
package.
Yeah, a different package totally, because it's like, it's like the.
Yeah, you guys don't have long enough hair.
No.
You need
nor leather or anything.
I don't wear any eyeliner.
Right.
Jim made me cut my mullet, so
right.
kind of.
I mean, up until like 5 days ago, Chris did have a mullet, so he would.
It was legit. It was. It was pretty. It was getting good, but.
I don't know if it was getting good.
Well,
depends on your definition.
Let me have it. Let me have it.
It's kind of like, it's like, that just like, I mean, basically like the sex, drugs, rock and roll kind of feel thing, you know what I mean? And like a little bit of darkness sprinkled into it. But it's kind of like, I don't know, I think for where we're at right now, it's just such a difficult time, and everybody's like at each other's throats and everybody's so fucking offended by everything, which I understand, like there's reason for people to be offended about some shit, like I'm not saying that, but it's just like, it's nice to, like, it's just kind of like feel good music, you know? There's music and there's art that's like, directed towards, struggles that people are facing right now and stuff like that. And this is not that, it's kind of like, we just like cut them loose and it's just like feel good, like dirty, sleazy kind of stuff. And it's like, and there's always like, even though it's like that, there's also like a little bit of darkness in it at times. It's like, it might be, kind of indulgent at times, but there's some seriousness here and there. But I think it's like really good for the time because like, even it's funny because you don't know how people are going to react until you actually play a live show, and then like the way people react, like there's people dancing, like people were having a good time with it, and and the music is really, it's really accessible. Like like it's catchy and it's radio friendly and it's like. It's a fun thing.
It is, and that's like our biggest thing. Like our rhythm section drives our music. It does. Like our rhythm section just makes you want to move. That's kind of the way we hope. And that's one of the reasons why we have that same setup in the stage, because we have lead vocals on one side and then lead guitar on the other side. And actually Jim is basically our front man when we set up. Jim and Bobby are dead center, and then we put our leads to the side because that's what we want. We want that rhythm section to be pumping you to get up. And that's like our big thing. I feel like there should never be like your front man. It is what it is, but our music wants you to move. So our rhythm section is the things that are gonna make you move.
It passes the test. You don't like bob your head. You just like kind of get into it.
Your foot starts, your foot starts tapping, everything like that. You get up and you start at least hopefully moving.
I like to think it's unapologetic.
It absolutely is unapologetic.
It's very, like Jim and John relayed. It's very. Accessible. I'd say it's radio friendly.
It's poppy.
It's poppy.
It is poppy.
I think if you look at it's
even the way it was recorded.
It's poppy, but it still has darker undertones.
It's
at times it has a little bit.
And I would never sacrifice any kind of integrity for it to be poppy. But
it's
just, if it ends up being poppy,
exactly.
If it ends up sweet, it's sweet, right? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like
So
it just happens to be that way. Like. If you said to me even a year ago that I'd be playing something like that, I'd be like, "There's no fucking way." but it's just the way that it went, Because like I love like mostly like more, maybe a little more underground stuff. At least for the last like 5 years of stuff that I've been listening to, a lot of doom metal and a lot of like alt country or like folk and stuff like that, like something, but it's all over the board. But most of it isn't like seriously radio friendly or anything like that. So I never really imagined that that's the way that it would shake out. But we're just kind of going with the flow, and it's
so different from what you're doing in The Hell You Die On.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think people who are familiar with that band are going to be surprised when they hear this.
Yeah, no, they've even said it already. They're like, you're like a different person in our band.
It's a different feel. It's just a different feel completely, and I love all of it. So it's just it's cool to have that outlet too here. So
I think that's also, it's becoming more of an acceptable thing. I think in the old days there was a way of thinking where someone could only do that type of, like, once they became known for a certain type of music, then anytime a band tried to do anything else, people were very much against it. And would shit on them for it, and they couldn't do anything else and that kind of thing. Now it's like, side projects and solo projects are the thing. Like, everybody does them now.
Absolutely.
And everybody experiments. Everybody does different stuff. I mean, Steven Tyler is doing like he did a country album. He's doing a tour. I think it's coming to the Bethlehem Center in a few months. Like, and 20, 30 years ago, people would have said, no, I'm not even going to give that a chance.
Give me Aerosmith or give me nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
exactly.
No, that makes sense.
Only play Aerosmith and that's it forever.
Well, even in the underground kind of stuff too, or somewhat like that. Anyway,
probably even more so in the
underground. If you have like a lot of like old punk rockers are doing like country projects, so it's like cow punk stuff,
or like folk stuff.
Right, or folk stuff. So you have like, Hot Water Music, and then Chuck Reagan's like solo stuff, and like things like that, which is like, it was like punk rock, now it's like doing country, you know what I mean? Or you have like, a lot of the times, like a lot of the doom bands that we would talk to, or they were going to play, like, Brian, has hardcore roots, Brian Craig, and when we would talk to these bands, he'd like a lot of times know the members from like 20 years ago when he used to play with them, or 15 years ago, or whatever, and they were like in hardcore bands together, and now they've evolved, and now they're like in doom metal bands, you know what I mean? So it's just like as they got older, maybe they slowed down.
Yeah, that's it. They had to slow down a bit.
But it's like it's kind of cool to watch. How the transition goes, but
people go through phases. Like I was saying earlier, I started, listening to nu metal because that's what I understood in my generation. Then I went back and go, oh, this is actual real metal. Like there's other stuff that's much harder, that's much deeper.
You got to ride the lightning, and you were like,
yeah, exactly. Okay, now
fine.
I understand. You get to Slayer, you get to all the other stuff, and you see where it comes from, and you watch that progress and stuff, and then I think people hit a certain point and they go, okay, that's it. Like a lot of new stuff now. You hit a
that point is always Slayer.
No, there's the millennial stuff. I can't listen to that now and that kind of thing. But I think there's so much music now, you don't have to really worry about that.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow any sort of trend. There's always somebody doing something on the side.
Right. I think the best thing is like just do what feels right and just be sincere, and whatever it shakes out is where you end up. And that's like, don't try to fit yourself in anything, or don't try to be anything, so. Right.
Well, we had a question from Kyle Chuff. He said, where do your practices take place?
At a location in Southside, Scranton.
That's right.
Southside?
Yeah.
That would be the lair that we've referred to on our Instagram, but Kyle Chuff is actually one of my best friends. We've actually been friends for since kindergarten. I'm going to be 30 this year. We met when we were 5 in kindergarten, so that was coming from him, and he was actually there, so he knows where it is.
He's just trying.
He was actually just trying to throw that in there. I can guarantee that.
Thanks for the buck in the tip jar.
Because he actually came down. What was that, last week?
Maybe 2 weeks ago. He got a quick glimpse of the area before.
He got a quick glimpse of the lair. Yeah, and so he did see it, but. Thank you, Chuff, for that. At least I know he's listening. So
that's cool.
Yes, that is where we practice.
You never know who's going to tune in. I knew the Republic Audio because they tune in all the time and they, like our articles and stuff. So it's like, oh, who are these guys? And you find out about stuff like that.
If you meet
to some of the albums that he did.
That Black Hole Heart.
So like, even when
Hole Heart, that was great.
Yeah, amazing record. I mean, it's funny because like the first time I met
that's what turned me on to him actually after I heard that. I was already friends with them, but I heard that. Yeah, I'll try it.
That band is so good.
Yeah,
they're
excellent.
They're ridiculous.
So even when Clyde was going to start even recording us, well, you get
cool. Thanks.
We have the
so you can have a taste of that. So I'll turn this around, beer boys. There you go. But even before Clyde was going to even start recording us, Clyde came to our practice.
Yeah.
And he even asked me, he's like, well,
he's very hands-on.
Right. He's like, what do you want your sound to sound like? And you just give him albums or whatever. And even when I sat down after vocally, he's like, where do you want to be? Any albums like that you're thinking of? Where do you want to get into? And he's excellent. Honestly, when we're in the studio, Clyde is like our fifth member of the band. Honestly, he's...
Yeah, no, and he actually, he offers some pretty good insights. The newest song we have, you know, he definitely threw some things. Like, you know, I went in and laid down the lead stuff and the basic rhythms for it. Like you said, like we did it on separate occasions, and then, you know, he sent us like a rough of what Jim, Rob, and I had done. And I was like, wow, this is really, really tight. And then like I was enjoying it, and then John came in and did his vocals, and then put like other like little like, you know, embellishments,
accents
with the guitar lines, and I was like blown away.
Actually, the intro solo, Clyde actually helped me rewrite that little intro solo because I thought it was a little bit too repetitive. So I just didn't know where to go with it. And Clyde's like, well, we're going to stay right in this box. And Clyde's like, well, what about this or something like this? And in the studio time, he actually helped me rewrite that and actually basically helped me rewrite the intro solo. And that was Clyde.
To have that and somebody that's like, you know, producing is like just to sit down and whatever he farts out is just like better than like most stuff that you hear. You know what I mean? Like he's just a really great guitar player.
And it's another ear. It's another ear that can be like, this fits right into that spectrum and it sounds great. Try this. Tried it. We laid it in front of these tracks and I was like, okay, sounds good. We'll leave it.
Well, that's another point too. Like locally, you'd be, you know, people would
really
be surprised
how
the quality of not only musicians and stuff, but also the studios that we have here.
Yeah, we really do.
You know what I mean? Like you have Clyde, and then I've just recently with the Hilly Dine, we were working with Eric Ritter at Windmill and had an equally awesome experience there. Like he's amazing to work with,
and
the
JL,
stuff is, the album's gonna be great. And same thing. You have your friends at JL, the University Drive,
and Permanence were both just there. They're both recording with them.
You know, we have some really great recording studios here too. You know, it's.
I think one follows suit though, because we have so many little venues that are able to put on these. Excellent. I mean, there are 4 or 5 bands a night that are at, like we're saying, at the Keys, at the Bog, at the Wolf, all these things.
Weekends, you have
that we can showcase just original music. It opens yourselves up to a ton of different things.
Like seriously, like think about that. How like when you were 21, when you go out, would you ever go and pay a cover and there would be a whole original lineup?
Right.
You go to a bar?
Very rarely.
Hell exactly. No, like hardly ever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, now it's like every weekend. You know, and that's great. I mean, and you know, granted, God knows we don't get paid shit, but it's something. You know, like, and it's not we're not doing it for that anyway. Like, who cares? It's great to have like somebody to throw towards studio time or something like that, but that's not what the purpose is. But hell, you couldn't even get that. You couldn't even do that not getting paid back then if you wanted to go to a bar that was people want to go and hang out and drink, like a nice bar. Like, so it's cool to see that, you know, original music is like that on the weekends now. You know, instead of and nothing against cover bands or anything, but like. You know, it's nice because it's kind of shifting gears a bit downtown, especially, you know.
And I still say that being in a cover band, it's like being in a job. I mean, you really have to dedicate hours upon hours of just learning other people's music and pounding them into the ground of what those people want to hear. You have to be a certified jukebox every night.
Right.
I never had the satisfaction that I had the first day we stepped in and was like, holy shit, like, this is what we just wrote. We have nothing to give to anybody else except the 4 people who are in this basement at Chris's house, and this is what we wrote.
You can't give them the location.
I won't give them the location, but we put that down. We released Black Diamonds, and we had such. I mean, Johnny Popko played Black Diamonds when we released it, and it was immediately he was.
Oh, even that's great. What he's doing,
right?
That
I mean,
natives,
the all natives
thing, you know, like.
I sent them a message the other night. He played Black Diamonds coming in off a commercial break, and then also threw down like our old show at our first show at the Irish Wolf that had a decent response, and then he plugged the Bog spot like. I just we don't have. I don't think anybody else has that kind of support of just local music. That's the thing. Like he is. I mean, I'm
sure there are, but I mean, like it's great that it happens here. You
know? It's both. It's great. Yeah.
So let's see, where are we going next? Well, we want to talk about. You know, what are you guys working on currently? Are you gonna have? You said you have a new EP that you guys are working on.
Right.
Do you kind of have an idea of when that might come out or anything?
Well, we're shooting for it to be either sometime in like probably. I would just shooting from the hip. I would probably say by the 4th of July, somewhere around there. Okay. I would like to see it. and we're still,
we have one.
We have the songs.
Yeah,
the songs are pretty much done for, except for one that we're working on currently, and the album art is being done. Tyler, a friend that owns a Black Casket tattoo, tremendous artist. He's gonna do a album cover for us, which I'm sure will be amazing.
Yeah, because
there's no doubt it'll be awesome. Amazing. The ones we have coming up, I like to say that like we have been slowly progressing in. It's not even making it more complex. It's just making it a little bit more parts to it. But the two that we still haven't recorded yet are definitely bigger.
Yeah, they're the most complex.
Yeah, they're bigger
so
undertakings.
the writing is evolving as we get more.
It's not even putting in.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not only putting in his vocals. It's putting in your lead parts over his bass parts.
It'll be good because like there's a little something different in every song.
In every song, yeah.
For the whole EP,
I mean, not on my guitar wise because I really don't play much. The most I can do is turn my volume down. That's what I really like to do, and then just sing. So it's basically these guys that are just trying to nail out the rest of these parts to make everything go just very fluently through it. But it is these next two that we have coming out, I think, are really, really, really good.
Absolutely.
We actually what we wanted to do was play one acoustic here tonight, but we just couldn't make it happen with no percussion. It was just like too quick.
Yeah. We were gonna do actually one of the new ones,
but I mean, it was like
we really did shit the bed on it. That is the best way to say it.
I mean, it just wasn't enough time. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we have one that we can't wait to get out to the world.
We're pretty excited.
We're really, really excited for the next two that are coming out. Yeah. Absolutely.
So where are you guys coming from lyrically in terms of are you writing with the with the song, or are you kind of like listening to where the song is going and then writing around that, or
give them our secret?
Yeah, we have a formula that we worked out.
We have a very good formula. When
I originally started, like, I write all the melodies and all the lyrics, and then the most recently, Chris would bounce a song off of me every practice until I got so fucking annoyed that I was like, I don't want to hear any more songs ever again. Like, I'm gonna, I'm like, I just have, like, just let me do it. Like, I have a really clear vision of what I want to do, and then after this album, then okay, we'll talk about it. But like, I don't want to hear any more of your songs, So then eventually, like, one of them, I heard a riff, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. What is that? So that ended up being Silver Whiskers. So Chris wrote that one, and it's really. It's really great. I dig it, and it fits in with everything we have. So that's real cool. And I had to put it was like a check my ego thing. I was like, I had this idea to do this thing and like whatever, and then I heard it and I was like, I can't deny it because it was really good. So I was like, okay, well let's do that then, Okay. But then mostly what we do is
no, even Silver Whiskers, that one.
That was that. Yeah, that's not what the typical thing would be.
Yeah, that's not
retrofit.
Yeah.
But what we've been trying to do is, I'll write like a riff or a melody and get like the parts worked out, and then I make John mumble it over the top, like he'll sing gibberish over the top of it.
So basically,
how he wants to sing it, like whatever kind of range he wants to get.
Yeah.
And then I go back and like Mad Libs and fucking write all the lyrics over his gibberish. And then it ends up where everybody gets what they want.
That's an interesting system.
It is. It's weird, but it works for us. It works really good for us, actually.
Yeah. It's 3 parts, so I want to make sure that anything that Jim writes that I can be right in the range that I want to be.
Right.
And then he writes everything out.
Right.
It's basically
it'd be weird for me to write the cadence when I'm not singing.
Exactly. It's all like drum cadence almost, where you're just giving me where I want to be able to hit my syllables.
Right.
Yeah.
He brings it back, and then
just plug it in.
That's it.
And like you said, you're trying to bring a little bit of fun back to rock and roll.
Yeah,
a little
fuck
more.
Really, exactly.
We want it to be
exactly what we're talking about.
We want it to be fun and dirty and fucking careless.
Get up, move your ass, and that's it.
Not like I don't. There's enough problems. We're not trying to focus on that.
Make bad decisions.
Try to just let it go and just
enjoy your life.
100%.
That's what rock and roll is. That's how
as it should be.
Living by the seat of your pants. Like everyone's all like so concerned.
Not to say there's not any serious things, because there are some serious messages now and again, but like. I mean, generally speaking, we just like, it's kind of like, fuck it,
Right.
I do think people kind of overanalyze everything nowadays, and
right.
they try to, they almost want to be offended by things.
Yeah, it's true.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's nice to.
I'm glad you said that, not us.
Right.
It's true. It's
well, that was our approach. Is like,
it's way too much.
Right.
And I think. Rock stars say stupid shit, and you can get them on that and that kind of thing. There's there's a new article every minute.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like we just you know, I'm in a weird position. We just covered a band. Watain, who's like a like Swedish death metal.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar.
Stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So photographer of mine wanted to cover the show, so he went down to Philly, covered it, and now they had to kick one of the guys out of the band because somebody thinks that when he came on stage and did that he was doing a Nazi salute.
Eesh.
And therefore
waving,
so
like
now
really without saying anything.
So now they're doing the apology tour and everything else
tour.
And everything. So I'm like, do I run these? And now everybody thinks, oh, now we support Nazis because you ran those photos. Or it's like,
if it was
how about
literally
a photographer just went to a show, covered
sad.
the show, and we're just running the photos.
Right.
Like, we're not trying to be political.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jesus Christ.
But you know, those are the things you have to think about now.
Right.
I can guarantee that we will not.
If it was
have
a
an
band,
apology tour. As Idle Hands, we're never going to have an apology tour.
If it was a band where, you know, maybe they had some kind of white supremacist roots, well, they're fucking assholes to begin with anyway.
Sure,
it's not about that. But like, if somebody waved the wrong way, like, what are we, you know,
it's
what are we
down
doing?
to that. People are just looking for something to
Supposedly,
bitch about.
a photo has surfaced of this guy giving a Nazi salute. So they're saying that he's a Nazi and whatever else. I don't know if that's the case, but
did they catch him in mid-wave?
That's.
I mean,
I don't know. Like, I don't know the context of it. All I know is that we sent a photographer to a show that he wanted to cover, and he wanted to shoot photos, and he got some good photos. So now, do we run the photos, or do we run the risk of like everybody coming after us saying that we're?
I think you need to plant your flag, and
Exactly.
I think you need.
art.
I think it's really important. Like when it, you know, sometimes. I mean, the easiest thing is like almost like a nihilistic approach and be like, oh, fucking, I don't want to.
Right.
Just
forget it.
But the problem is,
it.
you end up getting caught up somehow, one way or another.
Yeah,
and then at that point, I think it's your, you know, duty to plant your flag in some way, like to have some conviction in some way.
Sure, like
when you know that you have to like separate all the bullshit from like logic and like actually what's real, and you know, at that point when you know in your heart of what is real and right, like you have to kind of plant your flag, and it gets to be really troublesome sometimes, especially if you know you're a business owner or something like that, and you know you don't want to get on a soapbox about it because I don't think that's a really good idea either. But like sometimes, you know, in that situation, you gotta be like, listen, that's fucking crazy. Like I'm not gonna feed in. I'm not gonna become part of the problem and feeding into some kind of crazy when it's based on nothing. Now, if it has some merit, that's a different story, you know. But if it's just because somebody said some bullshit, like you could do that all day long, you know.
Yeah, it's nitpicking.
I always feel like especially, you know, even though we're entertainment journalism and people don't maybe consider that real journalism or whatever the case may be, I feel like you know you should cover stuff anyway, and try to be fair and let the audience decide what they think of it. You know,
without having a bias, that's the thing, right? That's a true journalist. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're not trying to tip it one way or another. You're saying this is what happened, or this is what we have, or whatever. And that's,
Like I'm not a Ted Nugent fan at all.
Right.
I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't like his music. I don't like his political
views.
You
mean you don't like Wang Dang Sweet Poontang?
Oh, come on,
dude.
His one thing that he's still riding on 30, 40 years later? No. Yeah. But if
he's
one of my photographers said, I'm going to go cover that show or whatever, I'm going to run those photos and then let people decide, you know, if they want to go in the comments and say what they want to say. That's
well, have at it, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Because we cover people who are on the other side of the spectrum too.
Right.
That's true.
So you know, and that's perfectly acceptable, and that's okay.
I think it's important because, you know, like look at, for instance, I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. I like to listen to that.
Sure.
That's one of the podcasts that I like to listen to, and I love that he gives both sides a shot. You know, and like however it works out, like you know, it gets people heated or they have a lot of opinions, or you know, you can't call him like, you know, a Nazi or something just because he had somebody conservative on the podcast. It's just like he's just letting them have a voice is all. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think that's the best thing. Like that, what we're doing, you could when you come see us, you could forget all that.
Yeah,
well, it doesn't come into the
equation. It doesn't come into any
equation.
Right.
We want you to come and bring your girlfriend or wife.
And that's the thing. Every single thing you open up is far left. Far left,
so heavy.
Far
too,
right.
like,
whatever you want to say. Just come see us play.
And both sides, I mean, it's like both sides get wild.
Oof, God,
you know what I mean? Both get wild.
Especially online, it's getting too intense anymore.
Well, it's because it's. Oh, I mean, obviously,
you get to hide behind a keyboard. I mean, that's
exactly.
The biggest thing.
It wouldn't be way different if people were sitting down and talking to each other face to face, and people just get so desensitized by being able to say whatever the fuck they want, like instantly, like to somebody that might never even see them,
never see them ever,
or even worse, somebody that you kind of do have an overlap with or whatever, and it's just. But
you have to be polite. You're getting,
people get so vicious to each other for like, you know.
That's the problem. Nobody's willing to find some common ground.
No.
And say, all right, I can see here, but I disagree here.
No, yeah, but there's no common ground because if you give an
people get mad,
right? You give an inch, they take a mile.
They get violent right away, and you know, I think both sides are guilty. I think of it, you know, and it's just
everybody's guilty. It doesn't even matter what side you're at this point. It's like it means if you give just even a hair, you're giving everything because that's it.
Yep,
that's it.
Well, let's read some good comments.
We have good ones?
Yeah.
Thank God.
Scott Kurcharski says, asked Jim about the time he had fun with Reed Miller at a concert, which Reed Miller responded and said, neither Jim nor I have ever had fun.
Both of those are funny, yeah, because, I mean... Miserable. Me and Reed Miller are both pretty miserable people.
Hate everything. I'm good.
Yeah.
You get dark.
I'm
not a heavy guy.
I like this stuff.
And
yeah? I guess I'll try it.
I actually went to Deer Tick with Reed Miller when he went to
give me a little that guy.
And I posted it and I said we had a really good time, and I don't know if it was Scott or my other buddy Mike that said, Tell me more about this having fun with Reed Miller thing. You know? It was fucking so funny.
Oof. You gonna try this?
No.
You're gonna try.
We had the most fun
I know what it tastes
two miserable people could have, I guess. You know?
I think there might have been like more than 3 high fives that show.
Right.
Yeah. It might have been a hug.
You do get miserable at times.
Yeah. I mean,
Jim hates everything.
It's not true.
You don't hate music. Clearly.
No, I don't hate music.
Ask Jim what he thinks about my Adidas jumper.
Well, that's actually smooth. That's not bad at all. Yeah, that's good. I like that one.
Maybe I'll try one.
Yeah. Here, have a little of this. Take some of this.
I want to your disease.
All right. I hate
Kyle has rung in again. He said to Runko, how does playing Danny Zuko in Grease help you with this band?
I hate him so much.
Sandy?
I hate him so much.
It's cool, babe. I'm a rock and roller.
So 11 years ago, I was the lead in our school play. That's what he's referring to.
All right. Well, hey, I was in Grease too. I was in the background. I was no lead character. But...
I was the lead character, and that was a very long time ago. But no, I mean, to be honest with you, it actually helped a lot. I worked out with at that time it was Sue Kelly, who was the ACDA choral director for Scranton, and now she works at the University of Tennessee. She worked along the sides like Leslie Moran, who also, they sing at St. Peter's Cathedral. She does everything. That's actually where I was trained first when I was growing up, like 12, 13, 14. I was classically trained first. So it actually did help me quite a bit. So his question that he's trying to make
I was hoping you'd have a longer answer for this, but you're doing just fine.
No, that's all right. Well, that's... You know what? He's trying
Mouth of the South.
Jesus Christ!
I can't
give him some more.
Forever.
Give him some 15% beer. See what happens.
We go back to kindergarten.
You're a singer. You're supposed to be the top.
Right. Thank you. But yeah, no. I mean, really,
my old business partner Joey that passed away. God rest his soul. He called John the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
He did.
Baby.
Okay, well,
especially he had a couple beers in him.
Yeah. Listen, if it wasn't for Joey, we would never have met.
It's true.
Also true.
And we would never be at that podcast. Right. But as per Chuck, that's one of the things that got me to here. That's honest to God truth. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I never would have played in that Beatles band. I never would have played in any bands that I was in. And
maybe you had the balls to get up in front of people, and
I had the balls to get up in front of people. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's where drama helped me.
Yeah,
I took 4 years of drama.
Well, thank you. At least somebody respects me.
It's literally the only reason that I can talk in front of any of these people right now and do this kind of stuff.
Right. And I'm one hell of a dancer. To put that in,
but you know, that at least gave me the confidence to be able to do that.
Right. Yeah, it's great.
And Scott had said, how did you choose the Motley Crue cover? Is there a Nikki Sixx influence somewhere in the band?
There's not.
No, that's a good joke.
That's not a Nikki Sixx influence.
He's probably not my favorite bass player, but it's all right.
He's nobody's favorite bass player.
He was more the I think he was the mastermind behind Motley Crue, though.
He was the
he wrote the songs.
Yeah,
he picked all the people.
Absolutely.
He got the gigs. He had the whole shtick and the whole look and stuff. Like he was the whole mastermind behind all that. But so I could see that for sure. But we picked that song because I think that to do a cover.
What Beatles cover did we try? Before you say that, which one did we try before that? What was the song?
Come Together. We were playing.
Come Together. We were actually gonna put a different one in, and then Jim's like, "It's not vibing with us."
You just have to get the right thing. So I think what I think a cool cover to do is something that's like almost like it would be obvious if we did like I don't know like a Queens of the Stone Age song or a Stone Temple Pilots song or something.
It's a little too on the nose.
And it's just silly to do that. So we want to do something that was like kind of out of our genre and maybe out of even out of our time period, everything, and just like make it our own and kind of make it fit and groove in the set. And I just had like my early Motley Crue in the back of my head because I was like I love the first album and even the second one after that kind of. But I just like kind of listened through those albums one night, and that was just the song that I picked. I thought it would like groove with our set, and it does. Like it really fits really, really well. And it's funny because it's like a, whatever you want to call it, hair metal song from 1981. But it does, it fits right in. Not only the feel, but even kind of like the lyrics and the groove and everything. So it just worked out. We're actually gonna probably record that in the studio too.
Yeah, we are gonna put that together. I hate singing that song. It's actually extremely difficult vocally.
Yeah.
But it sounds great. People love it. I will say that. I don't even know if everybody who was going crazy for it actually
you could probably get away with thinking that like, it was maybe
right. That's what I think. Like
the way we played it just kind of like it blends in. But the people that did know it really went bonkos. Like a lot of the like older people, dudes that would know it.
Yeah. Older dudes are going crazy. Yeah, they're like, somebody came to the gym, was like, I've heard that song
since 1981.
Since 1981, and I was like, cool. Right. I'm glad that like that, it can be that type of feeling or emotion can be brought up for something that you saw live that you haven't heard in forever, because that's what music should do. Like you should be able to bring up some type of memory or thought of something that might have been a better time or something where you didn't give a fuck about stuff, and just like that, and just enjoy music for what it was, not like, oh, he said that or did that.
Yeah, and everybody in this band is like such a huge music fan. Like even before even I knew that Chris played guitar, we would talk about music and shit. And constantly, like, everybody's like such a huge fan. Like I remember,
of different types.
Like I started because my brother's like way older than me. He left, and I was basically like an only child, and I lived in the country. So like my thing was I'd get like a cassette every week from Sugarman's that I got or whatever. And this started like in grade school, like probably like early, like I was only like 6 or 7 years old, and I would go and pick cassettes, whatever. Maybe it was based on my brother's music taste or the kids that I saw smoking weed on the bus in the back. So it's like I had no idea what it was, but I would buy like my a Metallica cassette. And that's kind of how I got into music, and it was like really important to me because it was like I didn't have a lot of shit to do like that. I would listen to tapes all the time, and that was like, and it's been that way forever. I've just been like a really huge music fan, so all that stuff like kind of lays dormant in there, where in the back of your mind for like a real long time, I think. And it's like almost like I heard that stuff so much so long ago, but then actually playing it that many years later, it's just kind of like it's really cool to like put a spin on, or you have it has some kind of influence behind it, as opposed to like hearing a song on the radio and then being like, oh, I think we could cover this one. It's like it's way deeper than that. If you're
that's the same. That's the same thing. My mom actually played me Kiss Destroyer. Like I was 9 years old. It was Easter. She had the record, the vinyl of Kiss Destroyer.
That was a big influence on a lot of
absolutely. How could it not be? And that was my mother playing a 9-year-old son.
Yeah.
Kiss Destroyer on a vinyl, I got so excited. I was jumping up and down, and the record skipped. I was like, "What's going on?" I thought it was like the end of the world, but it's just how it was.
Yeah, my dad has I have very fond memories. He had this very large, he still has at the house. It's
full
like
system?
This massive, record player, but the thing seriously would be from that wall to that wall.
Still
it's not that big.
You could put all the records in it.
It's not that big.
It's not that big.
And,
but you still couldn't jump.
Yeah, but you can and he would be having all these Johnny Horton records and Buddy Holly and Roy Orbison and all this even Sonny and Cher and the Beatles for my mom and
right.
playing these records and that's where I got a lot of my stuff too from, and then I remember I said my first cassette I just bought it because I was playing guitar and the guy had a little music shop next to where I was taking lessons. I was 6 or 7 years old and I bought with my allowance when I bought Twisted Sister because I just remember the manhole cover and Dee Snider's fingers coming out of it with the red nail polish, and then
true.
He just wanted to rock. That's all it was.
I did, but that's the thing, and it's he
wanted
J.J.
to
French and
rock.
A.J. Ojeda, or those guys' names. There's great stuff.
Well, unfortunately, we got to wrap up. But
Excellent.
We want to mention, that you guys are playing this Friday at
Yep.
the Bog. It's April 6th. It's now the whole show. If you haven't read about it on NEPA Scene yet, is it's called Scene, the photography of Keith Perks. So Keith Perks is one of our photographers. He's been doing it way longer than NEPA Scene has existed. So he's going to have an exhibit of all his a bunch of really cool photos that he's taken over the years. Small sampling of the hundreds of shows that he's covered at this point, and other stuff that he's promotional stuff for bands and things like that. So that's part of First Friday, which is your usual 5 to 9, 6 to 9 kind of thing. But he also he really blew this one up and put a lot of work into it. By adding the CD compilation part of it. So he's got 19 bands who are all local. There's new, unreleased demo material, all kinds of stuff most of it's never been heard before.
It's really worth picking up.
You will not get anything off this disc right now that you can get anywhere else. This compilation album, Silver Whiskers, our single that's on there, will not be out until... months way down the line. So this is the only place you can get that, along with almost every one of the tracks. University Drive's on there with.
There's a Hill You Die On song.
That's
the first. Yeah. That'll be the first track that's released from that album. That's been long time coming, but that was the first track released. Right. And that'll be on there.
Dakota has a lot of stuff on there. This CD is actually the only place you're going to be able to get a hard copy of these tracks. That's it. It's this CD and that's it. So it is a awesome part of NEPA Scene right now. Yeah.
So it's only $10 for the entire thing. So the show is free, so you can show up and enjoy the show. Playing live will of course be Idle Hands as well as American Buffalo Ghost, Dakota, and Mercy Gang. So good mix of different kinds of bands. A little rap, a little indie rock, some Americana folk kind of
sleaze
stuff,
rock,
and then some sleaze rock as well. So, but donations are accepted at the door. The compilation, the whole event, everything goes towards NEPA Scene, which is really cool. Not something that I asked him to do, something that he completely volunteered to do. All that money goes right back into running the publication and keeping it going. So not only stuff like this that you're watching right now, but all the content that we put out every single day. Interviews, podcasts, photos, reviews, all kinds of stuff that wouldn't be possible if stuff like this didn't come up. So I appreciate Keith putting all this stuff together and all the bands kind of giving back as well. So these are most of these bands we've featured on the site in some form or another at some point, or will in the future. So I appreciate everybody, throwing in on this whole thing.
We're honored to
be, hopefully
honored
again,
to be a part of it.
Absolutely, very very humble to be on there. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on and chatting with us.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Was this your first real interview for the
This
band?
was our first real interview
first
for a
one,
band.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Broke our cherry.
You get to, yeah.
Oops, is that allowed to say
No,
You can say
no,
pub.
it's okay.
Whatever.
You can
hope I didn't
curse on our show too.
that? I hope I didn't offend anyone.
We tried.
Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Thank you so much. Please check these guys out. We posted one of their songs on our Facebook page. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it there as well. You guys have 2 songs out now. That you can,
2 singles out right now.
you
Yep.
can get,
Right.
you can hear. Like these guys on Facebook. Make sure you follow them. Really good stuff, and more coming in the future. So hopefully we'll see you guys on Friday night. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.